I Heard It on the X. "11 Things You Might Not Know About the Rolling Stones." Please hit like and subscribe. Number 11. The band started as the Blue Boys. Keith Richards and Mick Jagger were childhood friends and classmates in Dartford in Kent, England, until the Jagger family moved away. Jagger was reacquainted with Richards in 1960 at the Dartford railway station. Jagger formed a garage band with Dick Taylor, Richards, Alan Etherington, and Bob Beckwith and called themselves the Blue Boys. In early 1962 at the Ealing Jazz Club, where they met the members of a group called Blues Incorporated, who included slide guitarist Brian Jones, keyboardist Ian Stewart, and drummer Charlie Watts, who would later join with the boys, creating a new band. Then Bill Wyman was hired as the successor to Dick Taylor. There you have that classic lineup of early Stones. According to Richards, Jones named the band during a phone call to Jazz News. When asked by a journalist for the band's name, Jones saw a Muddy Waters LP lying on the floor. One of the tracks was Rollin' Stone. And as they say, the rest is history. Number 10. Keith Richards. Stage issues. Keith Richards was almost electrocuted on stage. Intrigued? Keith Richards has played thousands of shows during his career, both with and without the Rolling Stones, but the one he later referred to as his most spectacular took place on December 3, 1965 in Sacramento, California. It really was pretty spectacular, but not for the reasons you'd suspect. As the Stones launched into the last time on stage at the Memorial Auditorium, Richards bumped his guitar into a mic stand. Ordinarily not a big deal, except this particular stand happened to be ungrounded, creating an electrical surge that unleashed a shower of sparks and left Richards unconscious on the floor. Richards ultimately pulled out of his ordeal, reportedly thanks to the fact he'd been wearing a pair of new rubber-soled boots, but things looked dicey for a bit. Now another incident. Chuck Berry once punched out Keith Richards. Rock and roll pioneer Chuck Berry did not take kindly to people touching his guitar, even if the person touching it was a world-class guitarist. Richards was once left alone backstage with Berry's guitar for a moment, and as a fan, he couldn't resist picking it up and giving it a strum. Berry suddenly reappeared, yelled, "Nobody touches my guitar," and punched Richards in the face. I guess Chuck has heard the song Street Fighting Man. Number 9. The Stones were not rivals with the Beatles. Some muckrakers invented feuds among well-known artists even before online tabloids were everywhere. That was the case in the 1960s and 1970s when news circulated that the two British bands were rivals. Yes, the groups competed but had separate sounds and fan bases. And they helped each other, such as when the Beatles wrote the song "I Want to Be Your Man" for the Rolling Stones. As American Songwriter previously reported, John Lennon and Paul McCartney originally wrote the song for Ringo Starr. Still, they offered it to the Stones when Mick Jagger and Keith Richards asked them for a piece for a recording session. McCartney describes the collaboration in a 1993 interview.
And then one day, John and I were walking down Charing Cross Road in London in the early 60s, and two guys were going past in a taxi. They shouted at us, and it was Mick and Keith, the Stones, and they were going along this way. So we said, hey, give us a lift, So we bunked into their taxi, and Mick was saying, hey, we've got a recording contract, we're with Decca now. We said, oh, great, congratulations, because it was a very friendly scene. There's not a lot of rivalry, actually. It now seems like there was this bitter feud. The Stones were the dirty, horrible long hairs, and we were the cute, real nice guys. It wasn't like that at all, We got this Ringo song off the album, and it's not going to be a single for us, but maybe you guys will take it. So that's what they did. It was their first single, I think.
Jagger describes the non-rival in a 1965 interview.
How do you compare your group with the Beatles?
I don't know. How do you compare it with the Beatles? I don't compare it at all, there's no point.
Well, let's get right down to brass tacks. Do you think you're better than they are?
Oh, But what? You know, it's not the same group, so we just do what we want and they do what they want, and there's no point in going on and comparing us. So you can prefer us to them or them to us. This is diplomatic, you see.
Very diplomatic, and I don't want to labour it, but do you feel you do what you want to do better than they do what they want to do?
Yes. Probably. I don't know. I don't know what they want to do, you see. Very diplomatic.
News writer Tom Wolfe once said that the Beatles want to hold your hand, but the Stones want to burn down your town. Jagger did say, "Don't play with me, 'cause you're playing with fire." Number 8. The Rolling Stones, behind the tongue and lips logo. Take a look at the Rolling Stones logo. As far as corporate branding for a rock band goes, it's unbeatable. For decades, the gaping mouth and tongue has symbolized the greatest rock and roll band in the world. The tongue and lips logo is obviously based on the unmistakable face of Stones frontman Mick Jagger. Isn't it? Well, not exactly. In April 1970, John Pash was a 25-year-old student at the Royal College of Art when a call came through looking for a young artist to work on a poster for a forthcoming Rolling Stones tour. Jagger had seen Pash's designs at his final degree show that year, and he got the gig.
He said, well, you know, I want something that might be like a sort of brand image, just a single image, very much like the Shell petrol logo, which was around at the time, and that was the starting point. And then he showed me a torn sort of picture that he had out of a magazine of the goddess Kali, the Indian goddess Kali, which is quite an amazing image, but it's strange because she's pointing her tongue out, and I think that was the spark. And I thought suddenly that's kind of anti-authority kind of gesture. It's like rude. It's like kids sticking their tongue out at people, and that was the spark of the idea. And I think that he was in tune with that too. I suppose I spent a week or 2 weeks drawing disembodied mouths with tongues and different angles, and came up with something which I was pleased with. And it's just red and black, so it's kind of very easy to print. And obviously the red sort of obviously grabs your attention. He said he really liked it, and it's pretty much how it is today, really. So I went away and did the artwork, and the logo was born.
The design first appeared on the album Sticky Fingers in April 1971 and has been used ever since. Number 7. Speaking of sticky fingers, Sticky Fingers, behind the cover. The Rolling Stones' 1971 album cover for Sticky Fingers was an extreme close-up shot of a man's crotch clad in tight jeans. The working zipper on the crotch revealed white men's underwear. What many people don't know is that Andy Warhol collaborated with Craig Braun, a graphic designer who worked as a creative and marketing director for Warner Music Group. Just 3 years later, Braun won a Grammy Award for designing the cover of the orchestral version of The Who's album Tommy. But the original idea for the Sticky Fingers cover art came from Warhol after he and Mick Jagger talked in a club late one night. As funky as the concept of the hidden underwear was, Braun told Vanity Fair, "I said it sounded like a real challenge because putting something like that on the cover could easily do damage to the record. It was a very complicated project." Sticky Fingers is widely considered one of the iconic and creative album covers of all time. So good thing the Stones stuck with the idea. Number 6. Tequila Sunrise? The 1972 tour across America. The Rolling Stones' 1972 tour across America had so many highlights. From tear gas in Tucson, to the jailing in Rhode Island, to a not-safe-for-work multi-day stay at the Playboy Mansion in Chicago. Famed rock and roll publicist Carol Klemfner recalls, in 3 words, it was crazy. According to popular legend, the Stones made the drink famous by ordering the then obscure combination of tequila, orange juice, and grenadine at bars across the country, bringing the tequila sunrise into the collective inebriated consciousness. On tour, when at a private party north of San Francisco, as Klemfner tells it, one of the drinks that the bartender put together was a tequila sunrise. They fell in love with the drink and they wound up bringing along a lot of tequila on the road. When the Eagles wrote the song Tequila Sunrise, by then everybody knew what it was, because it had all started the year before on the Stones tour. However, this did not mean the Stones made the drink famous through ordering it at bars across the country as believed. In September of 2015, the Stones' infamous 1972 tour got the spotlight in a Jose Cuervo commercial. In the ad, the Stones can be heard loud and clear. The only problem? The song playing is Miss You, which wasn't released until 1978. Please hit like and subscribe. Number 5. Eat shepherd's pie? Mother's little helper. Nutrition is vital to the survival of the Stones. Jo Wood, former wife of Ronnie, introduced Jagger to organic foods, and he eats the diet you would expect of any endurance athlete. Whole grain breads, chicken, fish, lots of avocados and a big bowl of pasta. 4 hours before showtime. But half the Stones, Watts, who passed away in 2021, and Richards, had their own individual shepherd's pie as a dressing room rider, served on a warming tray with their names. The quickest way to enrage Richards is to touch his shepherd's pie. "Don't bust my crust, baby," he warns. The fuel you put into your body is as important as any fitness regime. What a drag it is getting old. Number 4. Angie, behind the song. Angie, released in 1973, became a global hit and remains one of their most beloved ballads. The song's lyrics are credited to Keith Richards. The name drop in the chorus has left fans wondering for decades, who exactly is Angie, and why is Mick Jagger singing about her? When taking the lyrics at face value, Richards seems to have written them about the ending of a relationship with a woman named Angie. Many theories of Angie's inspiration have popped up over the years. The most notable ones point to David Bowie's wife, Angela, or Richards' daughter Angie, who was born the year prior. In a 2002 interview with Consequence, Jagger shut down any notion of the song being inspired by Angela Bowie by saying, "I've said about 100 million times that it wasn't about Angela Bowie. I don't think I had even met Angela Bowie when I wrote the rest of the lyrics." According to Richards, the song is less about a particular person and more about capturing a feeling. "The basic melody and the title were mine," he wrote. "Angie just fitted. I mean, you couldn't sing Maureen." Here is Keith elaborating on The Howard Stern Show, October 11th, 2023.
This song, where do you,
Angie.
Angie, where do you come up
That's
with
my
this?
daughter, man.
That's what I thought. Your daughter is Angela.
Yeah.
Really?
This was done in 72 when Angela was born.
Did you
Actually, I was in rehab when I wrote it.
Did you really? How magnificent.
Switzerland.
That's what I have to do. I need to go to rehab.
Great. I'll give you the name. I'll give you the
Maybe I'll write a song.
Like many great songs, the meaning behind Angie can be determined by audience interpretation. Angie, there ain't a woman that comes close to you. Number 3. Some Girls, Behind the Cover. The Rolling Stones' Some Girls is a critically acclaimed album that was released in 1978. The album features hits like Miss You and Beast of Burden, but it's the album's original cover that caused controversy and trouble for the band. In this segment, we'll take a closer look at the use of famous celebrities on the first pressing of the album and how it caused the band trouble. The original cover of Some Girls featured a collage of images of famous women that had been taken from various sources. The women included Marilyn Monroe, Lucille Ball, Farrah Fawcett, and others. The cover was designed by Peter Corriston, who had previously worked with the Rolling Stones on several album covers. The use of these images caused controversy and legal troubles for the band. Many of the women depicted on the cover were still alive and had not given permission for their images to be used. The estates of some of the deceased women also objected to their images being used without permission. The Rolling Stones were sued by several individuals, including Lucille Ball, whose lawyers claimed that her image had been used without her permission. The controversy surrounding the album cover forced the Rolling Stones to quickly replace it with a different cover for subsequent pressings of the album. The new cover left out the celebrities, but kept the black and white photographs of the band members. Despite the negatives, Some Girls was a commercial success and has since become a beloved album among fans and critics alike. The album explores a variety of genres, including rock, funk, country, and punk, and features some of the band's most memorable songs. Some Girls remains a must-listen album for any Rolling Stones fan and a testament to the band's musical legacy. You could say Some Girls is quite respectable. Number 2. The Rolling Stones, Rare Clips. Clip number 1. Teenage rock star, Mick Jagger climbing at High Rocks.
Boots today because we're on sandstone here at High Rocks near Tunbridge Wells, and if we use nail boots there wouldn't be much of the rocks left after a while. And so we use either gym shoes, and here's Michael wearing a pair of ordinary gym shoes which you'd wear when you were playing tennis or doing gym. They're quite satisfactory for climbing on these sort of outcrops. And the second man paying out the rope carefully. It's got a bit tight with him actually sort of leaning on it. So you see it's a good knot. It didn't come undone when a bit of pressure came on it. He yells, "That's me, I'm coming out," and he starts to come round the corner. There, that's how a rock climb is done.
Clip number 2. Rice Krispies, the Stones' 1964 TV commercial.
Wake up in the morning, there's a snap around the place. Wake up in the morning, there's a crackle in your face. Wake up in the morning, there's a pop that really says Rice Krispies to you and you and you. Pour on the milk and listen to the snap that says it's nice. Pour on the milk and listen to the crackle of that rice. Get up in the morning to the pop that says it's Rice. Hear them talking Rice Krispies.
Is it just me? Did the Stones just coin the phrase pop music? Number 1. Paint It Black. Behind the song. It was the first week of March 1966 and the Stones were in the RCA studio in Los Angeles, working to finish their next album, Aftermath. That song was going nowhere, said the Stones' manager and producer, Andrew Oldham, as he remembered the group toiling in the studio on the freshly written song, Paint It Black. Another 10 minutes, he'd determined, and it'll be time to move on. Our songs were taking on some kind of edge in the lyrics, Jagger once explained. Cynical, nasty, skeptical, rude. The lyrics and the mood of the songs fitted with the kids' disenchantment with the grown-up world of America. And for a while, we seemed to be the only provider. The soundtrack for the rumbling of rebellion touching on those social nerves. A game-changing suggestion. Yet here they were with an arrangement for Paint It Black that neither matched the intensity of its forebears, nor the oppressive themes which its lyrics suggested. Paint It Black was just going to be like a beat group number, Jagger said. It was just one big joke. Then after listening to the last playback, Bill Wyman had an unusual idea. I suggested Hammond organ pedals, the bassist said. I laid on the floor under the organ and played a second bass riff on the pedals, with my fists at double time. The effect immediately fattened the song's bottom end, inadvertently stirring in evocative Turkish flavors. Wyman had sent the song into territory far more exotic than the Stones had gone before. Back in December 1965, Brian had heard George Harrison playing the sitar on Norwegian Wood when the Beatles released their Rubber Soul album. Thus, as the Stones began to unravel the Eastern qualities that Paint It Black was conveying, Brian put his sitar to eloquent use, picking out the vocal melody in the verses and furnishing the song with its unique and intro riff. Arriving a month behind Aftermath, Paint It Black was released on May 7th in the US and the 13th in the UK, rising to the top of the charts in both countries. It would be 2 years before the Rolling Stones would have another #1 single. The Rolling Stones changed rock and roll, but they started out like any other band, playing small venues and paying musical tribute to their influences. The Stones' defining musical love is the blues, a form they helped bring to the masses in the 60s. The Stones have undoubtedly left an indelible mark on the music industry and will forever be remembered as one of the greatest rock bands of all time. heard it on the X.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles!
All right, Elvis has left the building.
Thanks for watching. Tell them you heard it on the X.